I love playing Grail Knight in Warhammer Vermintide 2, which is an unfortunate case, because while it's easy to get caught up in all of the Grail Knight's strengths, it'd be a complete disservice to you guys if I disregarded its glaring weaknesses. After the Winds of Magic update, Fat Shark started shifting the rhetoric of designing new playstyles for all the main characters of the Uberstrike 5. The first character to receive this DLC was Markus Kruber, who at the time was estimated to be the second least played character in the game, next to Sienna. Which is just fine with me, because Markus Kruber just so happens to be my favorite character in Vermintide 2. I saw him in the prologue back when I got the game and instantly thought to myself, yup, this is my guy. He was also my most played character back in the first edition of Vermintide, so it's safe to say that I'm kind of loyal to this man. And boy, did this update give me everything I could have ever wished for and then some. It took all my favorite elements of Vermintide and morphed it into one unstoppable badass, which also fits itself so well into Kruber's journey and almost makes it feel like this is his highest point of his entire career. From a simple farm boy to a soldier of the Empire to a surviving member of the Uberstrike 5 to a present-day certified Grail Knight, acknowledged by none other than the Lady of the Lake, hashtag not Lilith. I know I'm wrong here, but if Lilith was the true Lady of the Lake, then why would she spend her time on Kruber of all people? So what exactly makes the Grail Knight so good in my opinion? And for the record, I'm not saying that Grail Knight is better than any of the other meta careers out there, I just experienced the most success in Cataclysm games when playing the Grail Knight compared to any of Kruber's other careers. Well, for starters, he has a 10% movement speed bonus, deals 25% more damage on the first hit, and he can use shields to block a Fire Rat's flamethrower. Now, some of you might look at that and go, oh, well, is it really worth sacrificing your only melee weapon just so you can block some fire? Who says he only gets one melee weapon? Nani? Yep, Grail Knight gets 2 melee weapons instead of just 1, meaning you can get all of the shield's upside, more stamina, knockback angle, and power, and none of its downside, because you have your other melee weapon for that. But then you might ask, isn't that just a Slayer with a shield? Wrong again! Wrong again! Believe it or not, there are 2 key differences between a Grail Knight and a Slayer besides the shield thing. For starters, he has a team passive called the Lady's Duty. In a game of Vermintide, you will be given tasks to finish, kill X number of enemies, find a tome or grim, and upon its completion, you receive a buff that lasts for the rest of the game. And it goes to everyone. Granted, the boons are pretty small, but they do more than you think. Trust me. And the second thing that makes a Grail Knight different from the Slayer is his career skill, Blessed Blade. Blessed Blade does insane damage to elites and monsters alike. It also has a pretty generous cooldown, allowing you to use it more leniently. And obviously, since Kruber is a melee-only class, it's only natural that we'd receive some extra help from the Grail Knight's talent pool. We might as well start with how the Grail Knight recovers health. Now, I am a firm believer that if you are a frontlines character, you need to prioritize healing yourself over healing others, so I just disregard Gift of the Grail and go with Lady's Generosity or Wrath. I will say, however, that you get way more consistent health at a noticeably higher rate with Generosity than Wrath. I could bring up the fact that getting melee kills is a lot like playing the lottery, but I'd say the bigger issue is that while you can get 3 temp health per kill when fighting certain Chaos Hordes, you only get 1 when fighting Skaven. I guess what I'm trying to say is you can more consistently acquire large sums of health when fighting hordes, which I would argue is the most important time to have it when using Generosity. If you prefer weapons that hit heavy, then I'd go with the latter, but overall, I would go with Generosity. Moving on to talent set number 2, we have up to 30% extra power after killing 3 elites, an almost surefire insta-kill option if you manage to get a crit on your intended target, or an extra 25% melee power when you perform a charged attack. So let's go ahead and get rid of that last one. I mean, how useful can that talent be if you can kill 3 random enemies and get 5% extra power and not even have to charge up your attack? It is not hard to get 3 kills, and charged attacks come with their own risks, as the swings take considerably longer to complete. On the higher difficulties, you never see elites by themselves, so why would you bother with Virtue of Heroism when there is a clearly better alternative? And as for Knightly Temper, it's just not for me. Whenever it comes to fighting elites, aka the only only scenario Knightly Temper works in your benefit, the damage you deal is entirely up to factors outside of your control, which can make it frustrating to use. Not to mention, you have to sacrifice a couple of properties in order to maximize your crit chance, which isn't a huge problem, just a tad less attack speed and ult reduction on my end. More on that later. The final reason I don't go with Temper is that I prefer to focus on controlling the big guys rather than taking them down. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't fight them. Quite the opposite, in fact. The way I'm built, I can throw myself into almost any situation and not get overwhelmed, but that extra 30% power does wonders for my play. As for set number 3, I'd go for enhanced power, biggest reason being that without the 7.5% extra power, you can't use a shield to stagger berserkers, but now you can. And that pretty much patches in the last hole in the Grail Knight's frontline capabilities. Now he can stagger literally anything, even without the 30% extra power. Kind of. Now he can be the perfect all-around crowd controller career. Talent set number 4 focuses on your passive ability with the option to either give you a third task to complete for another boon, a potency bonus of the boons upon completion, or a strength potion for every 150 kills. Now, I want to start this segment by saying I can respect any of these choices. Each of them work well in campaigns and Fortunes of War, so you can't just narrow it down that way. It really just comes down to preference. I would use Duty or Purity personally, no disrespect to Penitent, just preference. Alright, now for the fun ones. The first one I'll eliminate is Discipline, and oh god. The problem with Discipline is that timed blocks, at least for me, is hard to pull off consistently. My theory is that I divert too much attention to blocking and not enough attention to monitoring the game state. Another part of the reason why I don't use Discipline is that I don't know what 20% more power does to help you. Stoicism sounds good until you realize that you can get hit for 100 damage, take a tick of friendly fire, and lose the health regenerated from the hit. Getting hit multiple times in a row resets Stoicism, and when it comes down to it makes health maintenance too much of a focus, and in a way holds yourself back from your true potential. And if you get good enough at Grail Knight, you won't really need Stoicism anyways. Which leads me to the last option, the Virtue of Joust. That option gives you extra push radius and stamina regeneration by 30%. Take notes, my friends. Sometimes it's not about introducing a new concept, rather it's improving what you already have. Already rocking 30% stamina regen from the trinket? F it. Now we got 60, and this 60 makes all the difference. 60% stamina regeneration is a godsend on Cataclysm difficulty, where you're constantly getting overrun by hordes, battling 10 elites at a time, along with 5 to 6 specials, and hey, might as well just throw in a monster while we're at it. You can carry that 60% stamina regen through almost anything, and especially when things are at their worst. Now I get it, 30% stamina regen doesn't solve getting pinned by specials. Sacrificing range combat is not an underlying nuisance. It's a real issue and a problem you will have to overcome. A huge part about Grail Knight is constantly keeping your biggest weakness in check, aka specials. You need to understand how many there are, where they are, and heavily prioritize timing and positioning to save your own skin, because one wrong turn could spell death for you and your team. So with that sobering statement out there, let's move on to talent set number 6. Let's see, what do we have here? 35% movement speed after a stab for 15 seconds. Good for being elusive when you're waiting for your recharge. I mean, heck, the talent lasts 37.5% of the cooldown, and that doesn't include the multiple ways you can recover your ult faster. Another option is to make the swing horizontal, doing pretty good damage and staggering many more. This one is a pretty good one and done, get off me move. It's fast, it's effective, a solid choice. But there is one last option, one that involves taking risks. The ability to deal twice as much damage to a single target and even allow effective single target elimination picks. Probably the talent with the highest skill ceiling and the biggest upside of the 3, and the one I go with normally, the Virtue of Audacity. At its best, you can kill 2 Chaos Warriors in one sequence. This talent is also the most effective of the 3 with a concentration potion. It's tricky to master, but totally worth it, as it's arguably the most versatile talent of the 3 as well. Now, before I talk about what weapons I use, I'd first like to touch on my properties and traits I use, so here we go. For the necklace, I have 20% health, plus 2 stamina and bark skin. Getting temporary health is kind of easy, so I wouldn't worry read too much with Natural Bond. For the charm, I'd go attack speed, power versus chaos, and decanter. Proxy and triple pot aren't bad choices either, and for the trinket, I go stamina regen and shrapnel. Grim resist if it's legend, campaign, crit chance or ult reduction if it's cataclysm fortunes of war. Alright, moving on. You like weapons? I like weapons. The three most common weapons I see in play are the Executioner Sword, the Mason Sword, and the Bretonnian Longsword. I'm gonna be honest with you, the whack-ass patterns are a huge turnoff for me, and while I can appreciate the weapon's concept, I just never bothered with it, especially since I have this thing, the Mason Sword. With straightforward swing patterns, great push-whack attacks, excellent mobile combat, and fast swings. The extra power your career get makes it an excellent choice, even if you dedicate the other melee slot to a shield, which is what I use in order to keep myself balanced. The other way people play Grail Knight is by using the Mason Sword for hordes, along with the Executioner Sword to deal with elites quickly and efficiently. I could definitely see why people would play this way, especially since some of your pushes do a good enough job staggering elites as it is, but for me, I just can't get over how much more comfortable I feel knowing that if things get too overwhelming, I have a backup weapon with more stamina and stronger staggers to help me recover. All of this is not to say it's the end-all be-all way of playing Grail Knight, it's just the way that has given me the most success in the most scenarios. Also, its swing speed is slow. Alright, I gotta wrap this video up. Thanks for watching episode 5 of the Career Showcase video. Hope you enjoyed, and I just as much hope you'll stick around with me for episode 6 and 7 and all the other ones. This project has been pretty enjoyable to me, and I can't wait to see which one I do next. And hopefully, somewhere down the line, I can finally learn how to play Carillion and Sienna properly, because God knows what kind of reception I'll get if I do a Battle Wizard video. Anyways, thanks for watching, and have a good one, folks.